Alright, welcome back to the second devlog for Reality. This time we're looking at Alpha 7. Last time it was Alpha 5, and it's been about a week since then, so Alpha 5 got tested twice since then. I pushed out the Alpha 6, and that then got tested 3 times as well, so we've had 5 rounds of testing in the last week, which has been fantastic. Through those testing, certain things have become apparent. In the early versions, the map was always feeling a touch on the large side. We were playing at 10v10 at least, so we were really on a full server, so with 12v12 numbers when possible, and it was feeling a little bit on the big side. But then in one of the tests that we've done over the last week, it was 8v8, and it felt far too big. It was still fun, but there were just too many areas where you'd run through and there'd just be no one there. So the focus over these last few versions have been removing as much excess that isn't actually necessary as possible. So the first change to go with that is the removal of this staircase here that was from spawn up towards the control room. You can see from this outside view that here it goes from spawn and it's just been completely cut and the spawn room has been moved in. The next change then was this staircase, which was a bit twisty and difficult to navigate. I symmetrized it so that players could traverse it in both directions a bit easier, but then ultimately it was cut entirely. So you can see in the changes to the level overview there's been a reduction in width of the map. We're really focusing on that core run from the satellite dish to the fissure, and that's the focus. That's where we want to keep players. We don't want them in any of these side stairways. In addition, some of the connecting buildings between the spawn and the mid were feeling a bit cramped. You can see in this one it's a bit tight down the far end, but it got opened up and made a bit more spacious. I also did sort of an overall lighting pass on pretty much all of the map to just lighten up those indoor areas, which makes them feel a bit bigger, even though they might not be. The locker rooms themselves, because we lost the hallways at the sides, they then needed a new route into them, so they became more of a centralized unified room, whereas before it was definitely 2 separate rooms, one for red, one for blue. Now we have this situation where it's kind of one room. Yes, they're sort of divided by the staircase in the middle, but it's much more of a unified space. The dish itself, when I made it, I thought this is too big, I'm going to have to reduce the size of this, and then after playing it, I had completely changed my mind. It wasn't big enough, so we've gone much bigger for the dish. As for the changes that aren't so visible, the amount of stabilizers dispensed by the condenser button has been reduced from 10 to 8, so that mechanic's a little less powerful. We're still going to be keeping a real close eye on how that feels. I don't think it's too powerful yet. I don't want to make it too weak because then we're not going to be seeing the team fights at mid as much, and I definitely want to see those. Those were good fun. There was a small chance of players taking full damage when returning from one of the other dimensions. That should be fixed. The collider itself was not player clipped initially. Just done it. It's just been clipped. In a similar vein, the damage over time effects for the collider room and for the other dimensions, I've turned them into a ramp up situation. So they start very low and then they quickly get very strong once the collider room doors close. So that just about covers all of the changes on the changelog. So I just want to wrap up and say a huge thanks to everyone that helps tests. It's phenomenally amazing that so many people turn up to test with such regularity. A really fantastic community that TF2maps.net has got. And we'll see you next time.